he's not famous. He's not an iconic figure. Yet his story to me is a uniquely American story. Someone who is striving to achieve that American dream, who is utterly ill-suited to its conventions.
In our exploration into the potential curse surrounding the Poltergeist franchise, we found ourselves faced with literal skeletons in the closet, or more accurately, in the swimming pool, tragic illness, heartbreaking murder, near-fatal accidents, and so much more. The victims of this so-called curse shared no similarities at first glance. They all ranged in age and gender, with relatively nothing tying them together. Nothing, that is, other than their involvement in these films. So, at what point do we acknowledge these rumors of a possible curse could hold more value than we want to admit? And if the previous 6 videos in this series weren't enough to convince you, we do have one more addition to the list of victims that may just change your mind. It's time once again to immerse ourselves in the unexplainable and try to make sense of this shroud of evil enveloping these films. Tonight, we will explore the life and senseless murder of Lou Perryman as we explore, one last time, the curse of Poltergeist.
How is it?
Great, Miss Freeling.
Okay, Bluto, give me my cup.
You sure make good coffee.
Louis Byron Perryman was born on August 15th, 1941, in Cook County, Gainesville, Texas. Details on the early years and childhood of Lou Perryman are, for the most part, non-existent. But what was clear to anyone who knew him, he was an enigmatic man with a boisterous yet charming personality. He was crass, swore like a sailor, smoked like a chimney, and was one of the kindest men you would ever meet. This was a man who was meant for a time in the spotlight. As Brian Huberman of Rice Arts would state in his independent film, Beset by Demons, The Lou Perryman Story, Lou Perryman was a big man with a big heart and big appetites. He loved life, both its bright lights and its dark underbelly. For Lou, his interest in film may have begun as a form of escapism, seeking to find a way to hide from his sad and at times scary upbringing, dealing with a mother who suffered terribly with severe mental illness. This would inevitably lead to wonderful highs and devastating lows. He was terrified of his mother, never knowing when the voices in her head and their torment of her would win, and he would once again be the target of her all-consuming rage and physical abuse. His mother would be in and out of mental institutions throughout a majority of his childhood, with a father who had no idea how to handle his wife or his children. This would lead Lou to spending most of his time being raised by his older brother Ron. Both Perryman's sons had vivid imaginations, and when times were tough, the boys would find a way to escape the craziness around them. Ron, who would grow up to be an acclaimed photographer working with Life magazine, would get ideas in his head and would use those ideas to create stories that he would share with his little brother. Ron would craft imaginary worlds for Lou to play in, to provide a brief reprieve from their own world. And Lou in turn would create numerous characters to fill those worlds and would immerse himself fully in those safe spaces. And it helped, even if just for a short time, for him to forget the heartbreaking sadness of his own reality. As an adult, Ron would parlay his photography career into his true passion for filmmaking, and when he had the opportunity to work with acclaimed director Tobe Hooper on a little film by the name of The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Ron would bring his brother along for the adventure, introducing Lou to Hooper. Due to Lou's bold and outgoing personality, Hooper would offer him the life-changing opportunity to act as second cameraman on the film. With this, Hooper and Perryman would form a fast friendship. During the filming, Lou would also endear himself to all of the cast and crew. With a filming schedule that was grueling, bloody, harsh, and challenging, it was always Lou that would check in with the actors, both male and female, to make sure they were okay, both mentally and physically. A big personality, yes, but he also had a big heart and an innate ability to make people feel comfortable. Tobe Hooper was thrilled to have Perryman on set, and because of his boisterous personality, Hooper would try to encourage Lou to seek out his own career in front of the camera. And because of this, Hooper would bring Lou along with him to France for the premiere of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the Cannes Film Festival, where he would continue to be a bug in Perryman's ear, hoping that the premiere would give him a little taste of what could be Lou's life. Lou would feel encouraged by the words of his trusted friend and would relent, making the move to Los Angeles to pursue his own acting career. Lou Perryman would make his film debut in The Tomato That Ate Cleveland in 1976, and while neither the film or his role in it would garner any sort of acclaim, it did get his foot in the door and give him his first taste of life on a film set, but this time as an actor in front of the camera. He would follow up his minor role in The Tomato That Ate Cleveland with roles in Hell of a Note and a leading role in The Whole Shooting Match. He also had a cameo role in the cult classic Blues Brothers, which would further shine a light on his quirky brilliance and his character acting skills. His quirky and original character work would catch the attention of Steven Spielberg, who would cast Perryman as the construction crewman who, despite his lack of social awareness and personal space, was somehow an endearing character. And while it is only the 5th role he would be credited with on his IMDB page, it was this role that many believed would be the catalyst for the events that would transpire decades later, because this film was, of course, Poltergeist. But the film he is most widely known for was a return of loyalty to the man that first sparked his interest in a career in the film industry. Lou Perryman would once again team up with Tobe Hooper, this time as actor, when he accepted the role of L.G. McPeters in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequel in 1986. In this role, Perryman was tasked with portraying co-radio host on the KOKLA radio station and the events that transpire after 2 teens call into the station, drunk and in a crazed state. The call quickly dissolves into terror and confusion as the callers are chased and attacked with, of course, a chainsaw. No spoilers here, but what happens next is still regarded as a rare gem in the horror world. A sequel that had some genuinely terrifying moments, if not a little sadistic humor. Despite the fact that his IMDb page shares a total of 23 acting credits, with his last role being in 2003's When Zachary Beaver Came to Town, it would be his early role in Poltergeist that many would theorize as the role that attributed to his death. The common through line of many unnecessary tragedies and deaths that befell its cast and crew was starting to feel like more than just an eerie coincidence. And sadly for Lou Perryman, the curse was about to make him another needless victim of its darkness. And while it took 20 years to find him, the curse would find him, and its brutality would more than make up for lost time.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Are you authorized to be backstage?
No. Hey, where's VENATOS?
Are you allowed to be here?
Just tell me what VENATOS are.
I want to take a moment to thank this video sponsor, VENATOS. At this point, there isn't much I can say that you don't already know. VENATOS offers quality gaming equipment at an affordable price, and they stand by their work with customer support that is second to none. With free shipping to the US and Canada, VENATOS makes it easy to upgrade your setup without forfeiting quality. Go to VENATOS.com and make sure to use code PRESSSTARTMOM at checkout to secure your 10% discount. Thank you to VENATOS for sponsoring this video and for your unwavering support of the channel. Let's get back to the video. Seth Christopher Tatum, the man who had robbed the world of Lou Perryman, is a prime example of the system failing and what can happen when neglect is shown to the importance of acknowledging and treating mental illness. Too often, patient issues are compartmentalized, and the focus shifts to the drug manufacturers making profits as opposed to helping patients and assisting them in getting the treatment they so desperately need. Tatum was never able to obtain insurance for himself, and because of this, he never had an official diagnosis for his apparent mental illness. But it was clear from his attitude and his behaviors that he was struggling. Even Tatum himself acknowledged there was an issue, believing himself to be suffering from a bipolar disorder. He would, on occasion, find a doctor willing to treat him and prescribe medications to help with his many mood swings. However, these instances were few, and sadly far between. For those who knew Seth Tatum, he was a muscular man, and when he was off his medication due to yet another denial of coverage, he would turn into a dangerous and terrifying man. Without his medication, he would become extremely violent, and in one horrific instance, as described by a male family member who wished to remain anonymous, he was beaten so badly, he was afraid he was going to die. Blood was all in my eyes, he recalled. I was fighting to keep him off, and he was saying he was trying to kill me. The results of this brutal beating left their toll physically, with his family member left with staples in his head, multiple contusions, and the loss of part of his thumb. But there was also an emotional toll taken on the family, not knowing how to handle Seth's outbursts. His family would try to get him admitted to Seton Shoal Creek Hospital in a desperate attempt to get him help. And once again, his mother was turned away for that all too familiar reason. Seth Tatum was uninsured, and the hospital was not willing to provide the expensive care Tatum would need, with the risk that he could not afford the out-of-pocket expense, and they would not be paid for their services. So he was denied admittance, and help would not be available for Tatum or for Lou Perryman. The feelings of helplessness would continue to spiral into anger, and on the afternoon of April 1st, 2009, a still unmedicated and untreated Tatum would fall into a chain reaction of decisions that would result in the loss of his freedom, the near death of his stepfather, and the tragic death of Lou Perryman. Tatum would take his anger out on Carl Drake, his mother's new husband, attacking him with a pair of hedge clippers, leaving Drake with a skull fracture and on the verge of death. Tatum had been living at his mother's South Austin address for 3 months after serving time in a state prison for aggravated robbery. His mother, Joan, had hoped that if her son were living with her, she would be able to keep an eye on him and keep him under control. But with his lack of medical care, paired with Tatum's taking to drinking, there was no way to keep the demons at bay. After his mother would report the attack to the police, an immediate search of the area began. Tatum, in a fit of panic, would take off on foot, finding himself less than 3 miles from his mother's home, in the driveway of Lou Perryman. The 26-year-old Tatum's original plan had been to merely steal a car, with the intent of evading arrest for the attack of his stepfather. However, when Tatum would discover Lou Perryman home and sitting on his front lawn, Seth Tatum's plan would take a dark and deadly turn. Tatum would approach the front porch and engage Perryman in conversation, believing that if he could befriend the man, it would be easier to convince Perryman to give him his car. Or he could steal it if all else failed. After a few minutes of conversation, Perryman would retreat back into his home, and moments later, Tatum would enter. He would discover Perryman sitting with his back to the door at his desk, distractedly plunking away at his computer. Tatum would see his opportunity and would strike Perryman several times in the head with an axe he'd found in the yard. Tatum would then flee in Perryman's 1994 Geo, spending the night hiding out in a nearby park. The following day, Tatum would park Lou's car near the Blackwell Thurman Criminal Justice Center. He would walk right up to the front desk and report to the sheriff's deputy, Jose Chacon, That's a stolen car. And I'm pretty sure I killed the owner of that car. And, unfortunately, he was correct. Lou Perryman was dead at the age of 67. And what would come next was a whirlwind of confusion, pain, sadness, and anger. On June 26, 2009, Seth Tatum was indicted on 2 counts of capital murder. He would plead guilty, and a trial would commence early in 2011. Tatum would say little during the hearing, sitting quietly beside his lawyer, Ira Davis, at the defense table. He would remain expressionless as Perriman's daughter, Jennifer, described the devastating loss of her only family. She would address Tatum directly, poignantly saying, "I hope that if and when you ever get out of here, you think about something other than violence." Jennifer, as kind a person as her father, stated she did not wish to pursue the death penalty, as she did not feel it would be what her father would have wanted. She believed, and so did most of those closest to Perryman, that Lou, who was always quick to offer a supportive ear to others, would most likely have offered to help Tatum. State District Judge Brenda Kennedy would sentence Tatum under the terms of a plea agreement, lessening the original sentence of life in prison. In addition to pleading guilty to the murder of the beloved character actor, he would also plead guilty to aggravated assault for the beating of Drake. For both crimes, he was sentenced to 20 years. Under the deal, the sentences were to run consecutively, meaning Tatum would have to serve a minimum of 40 years in prison before he would be eligible for parole. This would make the year 2051, and Tatum would be 68 years of age. Outside the courtroom, several of Perryman's closest friends would linger in the hallway, sharing memories of the man they would always remember as a pioneer in the Austin film scene in the 1960s and 70s. He was one of the guys in the creative community of Austin when Austin was just becoming a creative place. Wayne Bell, a friend and filmmaker, would say. He loved human beings. He loved people, stated friend Tyson McLeod. He probably would have felt sorry for this lonesome son of a bitch that killed him. Although he never attained superstar celebrity status, Lou Perryman was a gentle giant and a kind, open-hearted soul. And while his tragic passing came decades after his role in Poltergeist, many were quick to point out his link to the curse that so many believed to be associated with the films. And while we will never have a clear-cut black and white answer as to whether or not a genuine curse existed, the fact that so many are fascinated with the possibility not only makes for an eerie and spooky tale, it also helps to keep the legacy of its tragic victims relevant. No one will ever forget the creepy real skeletons, the tragic illness of the far too young Heather O'Rourke, the sad deaths of Will Sampson and Julian Beck, and the tragic murders of both Lou Perryman and Dominique Dunn. We will remember their names and keep their memories alive. And in doing so, their legacy gets to live forever. I can think of no better way to overcome the curse than continue to honor its victims and to bring light to the darkness this curse may have inflicted. The curse won't win if we continue to proceed in hope. Thank you all so much for watching the Season 1 finale of Cursed Films. And preparing for Spooktober 2023, we will be taking a hiatus from Cursed Films, but we will return with Season 2 sometime early in 2024. I appreciate all your love and support, and if you haven't already done so, please like the video and subscribe for more creepy content coming your way soon. Having you all join me on our little paranormal adventures is anything but a curse. I appreciate each and every one of you, and until next time, be kind to others, and be kind to yourself.
Well, what do you say we get off this damn mountain? Hell, we've had a lot of fun. We done looked for this Mexican gold.
Right here? What do you say, Will?
Partners?
Partners.
This is Shorty against the Bears.
Boy, I'm so dry I can't even spit.
I found out, as did the whole crew, that they were using real skeletons. Because it's far too expensive to make skeletons out of rubber and stuff.
My relationship with my daughter was perfect. I adored her, and she me. And her last words to me were, she said, "I love you, Daddy."
As he approached the grave, he was overwhelmed by the incessant buzzing of the cicadas that surrounded him. He knelt down beside the tombstone, emotions creeping in, and simply said, "Hey, Will, it's Craig." And within seconds, the cicadas fell, completely silent. I think if we will look at this world as it really is, Mr. Beck wrote in 1965, we will find that even what is most ugly has within it the sparks of life. And I think we go to the theater to glimpse those sparks. That's why we get so excited before we go to the theater. It's because we are looking for light in a very dark world. And Heather would even be given the honor of being named president of her 5th grade class at Big Bear Elementary. She would take lessons in flute and was an avid reader, considered quite smart for her young age.
And something else came over me and said, "Get up. Get out of here. Take your seatbelt off and get out of here." And what felt like my last breath of air was really my first.
Why the hell would somebody do that? Just kill Lou. I'd give anything to be sitting here talking to him right now, I know that. You know, he was a good buddy. Good guy.